Reading the collected poems of Li Sang, a journey to discover the self amidst a complex world. The world we live in at times becomes so complicated and difficult to understand. The news is filled with incomprehensible events, and even the hearts of those around us are challenging to decipher. The knowledge we learn from school and the experiences we gather from society are often insufficient to clearly explain everything. We sometimes feel lost, unable to find answers to fundamental questions such as, why is the world this way, who am I, and what is the truth? Amidst such questions and confusion, we often seek comfort and insight through books. But many people shake their heads at the mere mention of books. This is especially true for poetry. Many may think, poetry is difficult and only for refined people, someone like me will never understand it. Moreover, some might even hesitate to open a poetry collection due to unpleasant memories of having to memorize poetic lines during literature classes. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a unique poetry collection that can completely shift these prejudices and challenges, the collected poems of Li Sang. Li Sang is considered one of the most distinctive and innovative poets in Korean literary history. His poetry is simultaneously described as incomprehensible, strange, and shocking. For those lacking knowledge and refinement, it might initially seem like an inaccessible book. But I dare to say this book has the potential to unexpectedly offer unexpected insight and freedom to anyone who feels lost in a complex world and wishes to understand themselves better. Li Sang, a solitary genius ahead of his time. To understand Li Sang's poetry, it's essential to briefly examine the era he lived in and his life. Li Sang was born in 1910 in Gyeongseong, modern-day Seoul, and died at the young age of 27, becoming a tragic genius in Korean literature. His life overlapped with the dark period of Japanese colonial rule in Korea, when Korean identity was threatened and traditional values were confused by Western influences. Li Sang came from an elite background, having graduated from the architecture department at Keijo Higher Industrial School and once worked as an architectural engineer. Though his background seems far from that of a typical poet, his poetry often features geometric forms, architectural-like structures, and the use of numbers, all reflecting his academic specialization. Choosing a life as an artist, he lived a life marked by illness, poverty, and nonconformity to conventional norms. His poetry is both a painful confession born from chaotic times and an unstable personal life, yet also a record of striving to transcend them. What makes the collected poems of Li Sang so unconventional? Let's now dive into the actual content of the collected poems of Li Sang. You might feel surprised at first, as these poems differ drastically from any poetry you have ever encountered. 1. Radical form and language play. Li Sang's poetry does not take the form we typically expect. Instead of neatly aligned lines and beautiful metaphors, his poems appear as if scribbled randomly on paper or arranged like mathematical formulas and architectural blueprints. He often ignores spacing, uses punctuation in unexpected ways, and mixes foreign languages with Hanja, Chinese characters. For example, one of his representative poems, Agamo, begins with the line 13 children sprint down the road, repeated under the title number 1. Only to suddenly transform into terrifying children. This radical approach shatters our conventional notions of what a poem should be. 2. Sharp questions hidden in complexity. The most prominent characteristic of Li Sang's poetry is its difficulty. His poems often seem incomprehensible, and their meanings are hard to grasp. They feel as if they were dreamlike scenes, disconnected and lacking logical flow. Yet, within this very ambiguity lie Li Sang's profound insights. He continually questions and deconstructs the logic of the world, the order of language, and the identity of the self. Deconstruction of the self. In the poem Mirror, the speaker feels unfamiliar and even cursed by the mirrored image of himself, highlighting how the self we consider stable is anything but. Is the mirror self the true self, or is the one outside the mirror the real version? Through this, Li Sang questions how fragile our belief in a whole self really is. Alienation and estrangement from the world. His poetry reveals a deeper sense of alienation and helplessness experienced by intellectuals during the oppressive Japanese colonial era. The world was irrational, and the self felt entirely out of place. These sentiments resonate not only with the intellectuals of that time but also with many people in modern society who feel isolated and adrift. Resistance to established order. Li Sang resisted not only traditional forms of literature but also the rigid thinking pervasive in society. His poetry does not dwell on common themes like ideal human beings or beautiful lives. Rather, it fearlessly exposes the grotesque, the anxious, and the chaotic within, declaring, "This is the reality in me." Insights and freedom offered by the collected poems of Li Sang. Implications. But why should we, who lack knowledge and refinement, read such a difficult and unique collection like the collected poems of Li Sang? What meaning can this book offer us? 1. Freedom from the compulsion to understand. The greatest benefit of reading Li Sang's poetry is the liberating realization that it's okay not to understand everything. We live under constant pressure to learn, understand, and find answers, both in school and in life. However, Li Sang's poetry offers a new experience beyond the threshold of understanding. His works cannot be approached solely through logic or knowledge. Instead, they appeal through visual imagery, the resonance of sounds, and the undulating waves of indistinct feelings. At first, they may seem strange or even unpleasant. But such moments, wondering, "What is this?" or "How strange," are the starting points for breaking free from conventional thinking. We need not force ourselves to decipher each word. Simply surrender to the peculiar atmosphere his poems create, the unexpected combinations of words, the rhythm of repeated lines. Like admiring an abstract painting or listening to an intricate piece of music, focus purely on the experience of feeling. The realization that it's okay not to fully understand is itself a great source of comfort and courage. 2. Cultivating a new way of seeing the world. Li Sang confronts everything we take for granted, asking profound questions: what is normal and what is abnormal? Are the boundaries between truth and falsehood truly clear? His poems expand our thinking by posing these questions. They encourage us to move beyond the world's rigid standards and practice observing things from diverse perspectives. For instance, the line 13 children sprint down the road in Agamo might initially feel chaotic, yet it could symbolize the current state of our lives in a modern, fast-paced society. Everyone runs forward, yet no one knows where they're headed, desperately sprinting in anxiety. Li Sang foresaw this instability and confusion as early as the 1930s. His poetry reflects the inner anxieties, dissatisfaction, and inexplicable fears that we ourselves have yet to express. 3. Courage to accept our uniqueness. Society often imposes expectations of a normal life: attending a good school, securing a stable job, building a family, and living similarly to others. Yet, each of us harbors our own peculiarities, unspoken worries, misunderstood preferences, and even emotions we find hard to explain, even to ourselves. Li Sang's poetry whispers a comforting message: accept and embrace your uniqueness. He openly expressed his inner turmoil, contradictions, and tragic emotions. Reading his poems, we find solace in knowing we're not alone in these strange thoughts, and that our confusion can have meaning. Instead, we may discover our own unique value and beauty within these perceived abnormalities. 4. Experiencing thought beyond language. We think and understand the world within the confines of language. Yet, language can also limit our thinking. Li Sang shattered these linguistic boundaries, testing their limits and exploring new possibilities for meaning. His poetry transcends logical communication, offering sensory and intuitive experiences through the materiality of language, visual arrangements, and sound repetition. This experience reveals that there are dimensions beyond words that might be closer to truth. Facing complex problems, we can develop flexible thinking by opening ourselves to intuition and sensation, exploring new approaches beyond strict logic. How to read the collected poems of Li Sang. Enjoy it without burden. You don't need special knowledge or refinement to read the collected poems of Li Sang. What matters most is approaching the work with an open and unbiased mind. Don't feel obligated to read the entire collection at once. There's no need to read every poem in order. Simply open the book to any page and choose a poem that catches your eye. The poems vary in length, Pick what appeals to you. Read aloud. The resonance of sound is crucial in Li Sang's poetry. Even if you don't understand the meaning, reading the repeated phrases or unique sounds aloud will help you sense the rhythm and immerse yourself in the mood. Appreciate it like a painting or music. Approach the poem sensorially, as you would a painting or a piece of music. Focus on the imagery that emerges, the overall atmosphere, and the inexplicable emotions stirred within you. Ask yourself questions. Ask questions like, why does the poem look like this? Why is this word here? And what is the poet trying to tell me? Don't search for definitive answers, value the act of questioning itself. Don't give up. Avoid concluding that it's too difficult after reading just one or two poems. Some poems may immediately resonate with you, while others may take multiple readings to begin to feel something. If a part remains confusing, skip it and focus on the poems that speak to you. Closing thoughts. The courage to find your own path, a gift left behind by Li Sang. The collected poems of Li Sang is not merely a collection of an old poet's writings. Like a mirror, it breaks our conventional thinking, offers a fresh perspective on the world, and gives us the strength to embrace our inner complexity and chaos. Knowledge and refinement don't stem from merely knowing a lot. They arise from the effort to understand the world, the empathy to understand others' hearts, and the courage to transcend our own limitations. Reading the collected poems of Li Sang will be a new journey to expand this very knowledge and refinement. By taking your first step into this challenging yet fascinating poetic world, you might experience an intellectual excitement and liberation you've never known before. Don't strive to find answers. Instead, enjoy the pleasure of wandering through the unknown territory Li Sang has opened. In this wandering, you may discover a new self you've never recognized and gain unexpected courage and insight to walk your own path in this complex world. The collected poems of Li Sang will become a special challenge and one of the most beautiful gifts in your life.